Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 519 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So good to be with you, as always. I feel really optimistic about the direction of our country, about our health, and all the good stuff that's going on, and I hope that you do too. Now, even though there will always be things that happen that are tough, that's life. But we just have to remember ultimately things are always working in our favor in some way, even when tough things happen. And speaking of tough things, it seems like California has had its share of bad things going on, but the Palisades fire has been really bad. It's been unbelievably destructive. So many people have lost their homes. Now, one of the people that lost their homes was Heidi Montag. I don't know if you guys ever watched The Hills. It was a semi-reality show. I think I caught a few here and there. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I was kind of interested in it for a little bit. But anyway, one of the girls on the show was Heidi Montag, and the whole idea of it was drama. So long story short, she lost her home in the Palisades fire, and people have really rallied around her to try to help her get like her music back up on the charts, to help her and her husband to rebuild because they've got kids. And apparently their insurance had been canceled, which a lot of people had. A lot of people had their insurance canceled because of the risk of fire. So of course she's in the news, and she's in the news on X. So when I saw an old interview pop up, it kind of intrigued me because I was like, now why would they choose that interview? It must be, there's a reason why. So I watched it, and I'm kind of glad that I did. Like, I don't know her, but it seemed from what I remember, seemed like a sweetheart. And in this interview, the woman who was asking the questions, who was the interviewer, she was kind of nasty. Like, she was basically condescendingly asking Heidi questions and suggesting that she should feel bad about making money from being famous for being famous. Well, Heidi was just, she was just being sweet. And she said, well, I'm just happy to be getting a paycheck. I mean, she would rather be making money. This is what she said. She'd rather be making money for being famous rather than working in her parents' restaurant. And to that, the interview said, well, isn't there something about putting in the work? I mean, I think I would prefer to put in the work by working at the restaurant, suggesting that basically she knew better and her way, of course, would be better. But Heidi, sweetly, she just said, but that would be your path now, wouldn't it? You see, I love how she handled that. I mean, we can debate what's right and wrong, but when we inject how we would have done something and it would have been better, or when we judge other people for their journey, it's really a judgment on us. It doesn't mean anything about them, because we can't define someone by what we think of them. We really are just defining ourselves as someone who needs to judge. And it becomes really clear when we watch it happen in plain sight, like that interview that the woman was doing with Heidi. The interviewer came off as condescending and really judgy. And it made me realize that that's probably how any of us come off when we do that. We may just not realize it, but we do it. Most of us anyway, like we inject our judgments on people all the time. And it may just be thoughts about other people. It may not be that we say it to them. But what's kind of worse is if we don't say it to them, but we would say it behind their back. I mean, because we usually do it to people we love in the name of, trying to help them. But how does me judging someone behind their back help them? It doesn't. It just makes me a judger. And when I judge someone, I am actually the one putting sort of a stress on the relationship, not the other person. I mean, we think it's harmless, but it does damage even if the thought isn't spoken. Negative thoughts about someone, even if we don't speak them, it affects how we treat them, and it affects how they feel around us. Unspoken communication, believe it or not, influences our social interactions more than we think. We think we're being subtle or coy, but unless you are a master manipulator, it is going to be feeling it. The other person is feeling what you're thinking. I mean, judgment of other people may feel good because it deflects from our own perceived flaws, and it may seem harmless as long as we don't speak it. But humans are sensitive to social cues and can feel it, even if you don't say it. Now, I'm drawn to the idea right now because the book I'm reading, Real Magic by Wayne Dyer, talks about how our relationships suffer when we judge, whether we speak the judgments or not. But when we allow ourselves to just love people where they are and let them be who they are, then our relationships thrive. We're all on our own paths towards our own purpose and our own fulfillment. No one has it all figured out, but the more you speak from love and lead from your higher self, which never judges. Your higher self never judges. It doesn't judge you and it doesn't judge other people. And the more you can live from that place, the more you influence in a positive way, because it allows others to connect their higher self when they're around you. And sometimes, because you seem to be working from your higher self more than not, people ask your advice. And if you're like me, I think, well, I'm trying to figure things out myself. How am I going to give you advice that's going to really help your life? Jeff Warren, during a guided meditation, said he does guided meditations on Calm. In case you don't know who that is, I talk about him a lot. But anyway, he says people will often ask him for life advice, and he feels like he's just figuring things out too. But what he does do is he simply shares what's been true for him, which he says might help the one asking for advice find their own truth as well. And I actually feel like that is the right way to go. Like, you can tell your truth and what's happened for you. Sometimes it makes people think about theirs. And I like that. I mean, because my path is no better than your path. It just looks different. We're all doing the best we can with what we have. I mean, no one wakes up and says, today I think I'm going to mess my life up more than I already have. No, they're not saying that. They're simply surviving the best way they know how. Our judging them means nothing about them and everything about us. And I'm aware now that I do it. And because I'm aware now, and because I know how damaging it is, even if it's left unspoken, I catch myself when I do it. And I'll tell myself, you know what? I'm just going to love them where they are, because judging them is my lower self needing to feel superior, which, if you think about that, is not very flattering, nor is it helping me live my best life and have strong, healthy relationships, which is what we're all about at the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So my challenge to you today is to recognize how your judging thoughts are more about you than the other person. And also, subtly, they bring a wrecking ball to the strength of that relationship. So stop it. But seriously, come up with a thought that serves you and the other person as well. I mean, when you realize you're judging, come up with a thought that you can tell yourself. Something like, maybe they're doing the best they can with what they have, or I'm just going to love them where they are, or maybe they're on their perfect path and I'm on mine. I mean, when you begin to think your way is better and those judgy thoughts start creeping in, maybe check yourself by reminding yourself that that is simply your path. No, isn't it? Share this with 3 people who are on their perfect path. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.